Welcome back to Midwest Sagacity. I'm Midwest Savage, and yes, I'm excited to be here today. It's been a long time, something like 65 days, not that I'm counting or anything. Trust me, guys, I didn't like it. I didn't like it one bit. I then had the thought, like, what is going on in the world? Like, seriously, what is going on? And I think, I come to the conclusion that, sometime in the past 10 years, I'm almost certain that I died and went to some alternate reality called hell. Because it's the only thing that makes sense of what is going on around the world. Like I said, there was way too much stuff to talk about, and I wanted to get into it all. So what I decided to do is picked up 6 videos that I think some of the stuff, and I'm going to do some more videos, kind of like this, where I just picked several videos and we get into it. If one of these subjects, interests you guys, hit me up in the comments down below. The one that gets the most comments, I'll do a full video on it. But right now, I just wanted to kind of cover what's been going on over the last 60 days, 65 days, in case you forgot. Because there's been so much stuff that's happened that you probably forgot about half of it. With that in mind, let's get into it. This first one is going to be talking about the migrants that were gathering at the border in anticipation of the ending of the Title 42, which was like the COVID mandate where they weren't letting them come across, and that was relaxing, and so there was going to be some new rules and things like that after that, but people gathered in mass leading up to that. Let's go ahead and take a look at this video real quick, just in case you forgot.
The pending changes to U.S. immigration policy. Pandemic-era Title 42 immigration restrictions are set to expire at midnight. Now we're learning more about the new rules for asylum seekers. ABC News' Matt Rivers joins us now from Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, with more, along with Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill. Matt, you've spoken with immigrants waiting to be processed.
One quick thing on this, I love how this got so much coverage because, they weren't really wanting to cover much about the border and things like that. But this particular thing with the Title 42 ending got a lot of coverage. And, I mean, you can pretty much know why. It was letting migrants know that it's ending. So they had to give it as much coverage as possible so it could make it down into Mexico and word of mouth could spread so that this could get out of hand.
Process at the border. So what are they saying about why they're coming now?
Well, everybody has their own story, and I think some groups of migrants, you've got some people who wanted to come before Title 42, some who are going to wait until after it's over, a few hours from now, and then you've got some people who have simply just been walking for months, are totally unaware of all of these policies, and just cross because that's the momentum of their trip. They arrive and then they cross. That's just how it works. But in terms of those first two groups, on the one hand, people who wanted to get across before Title 42 ends, that's for one specific reason. And that's because if you are deported under Title 42 regulations, you can immediately come back and try again. Generally, you're deported back here to Mexico, and there's no legal consequence if you come and try again. If you come after Title...
So do you think that the immigrants that were, lining up at the border and wanting to get in before knew all that without the news explaining that to them? It ain't like they read, the entire document of Title 42 to, understand all that. Just ridiculous of how much the news gives away the game plan, so much so that you gotta just say it's on purpose.
Title 42 starting at midnight tonight, moving into the future, and you try and claim asylum and you are denied, you get deported back to your home country in most cases, and then there's a ban on reentry for at least 5 years. If you try and violate that ban, there's criminal penalties that apply. So people know that, and that's why they're trying to come in before Title 42. If you try and come in later, people who are waiting, you can claim asylum. That is something that was more difficult to do under Title 42, but under these new regulations, it's going to be a little bit harder to claim asylum, slightly more risky. If you, like I just said, if you don't get approved, then you might see yourself deported without a chance to come back. So there's varying reasons why people are choosing to cross or to wait, and each one is...
Now, real quick, I want to show a couple shorts, real quick, of those migrants that did want to get across the border before and what happened. Yeah, let's go ahead and play this
video from a bridge to El Paso shows U.S. Customs and Border Protection using riot gear and traffic barriers to push back a crowd of migrants trying to cross into Texas yesterday.
That's just one of the videos. Here's another
According
one.
to Customs and Border Protection, this disruption started at about 1:30 on Sunday, and this happened at the Paso del Norte Bridge.
These were all people trying to get across the border before that ended.
Mexico, and CBP says that they deployed physical barriers to stop this attempted mass entry into the United States.
Jeez.
Why are we seeing this right now?
So they're violently trying to come into the country, and we're supposed to be accepting of that. In any other country, if people were lined up at the border and they did this, this would be considered what? An invasion. That's what it would. That's what it would be. It'd be an invasion. All right, so fast forward a little bit. And these migrants got through and they needed to go somewhere. Recently, Chicago had an election. They got a new mayor, and he was on the news saying, hey, we are going to be a sanctuary city. Everybody clapped. Everybody was cheering. And then, you know, the states that actually border with Mexico said, hey, no problem. We got a new spot to send people that are looking for asylum in our country. So they sent a lot of them up to New York and Chicago and other places. And they didn't like it. They didn't like it one bit. See, that's the funny thing with this logic. You know, it's always nice and fun to feel like you want to do something for people. Then when it comes down to actually doing it, then you realize, oh, this ain't so good and I don't want to do it. And the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans basically is that Republicans figured out long before they didn't want to do it. Democrats have to learn the hard way. They're okay as long as it's not affecting them. Once it affects them, then they're not okay. And that's what we're going to take a look at, is the perspective of these black individuals in Chicago that are not happy. Migrants are getting put into places that they've been begging the state to fix up and create safe places for people to hang out and things for the kids to do so they're not out getting in trouble. Let's go ahead and take a look at what this guy has to say.
Good afternoon. My name is Jimmy Darnell Jones, but please reference J. Darnell Jones. That's J period. Darnell Jones. Jones.
You can always tell somebody's going to be not intelligent and stupid when they think they have to spell their name out for everyone. I mean, everyone knows how to spell Jones. And he had it has to be J period. Okay.
I come to this podium today with a flame that burns on the necessity of self-preservation for this community and communities like this and every other city in this country where...
You hear that? So now that the migrants are moving in, it's about self-preservation. but they're not out there screaming about self-preservation when their own people are killing each other. My people. Well, half my people. They don't like to claim me, but black people killing each other every day. In fact, later on in this video, we're going to talk about another thing that has been happening all around the country with these mass shootings. And most of it is black people killing black people at parties.
Our voices actually have power. It's my concern and other members of South Shore community, a community that is predominantly comprised of the descendants of once enslaved African Americans.
Why did we have to add that in there? You gotta play the victim no matter what, right? We're not going to accept any responsibility for tearing our own communities up. We're not going to accept any responsibility for not making them any better. We're not going to accept any responsibility for our kids being badasses and tearing up the whole town. Man.
That the same federally backed tactics that proven detrimental to thriving black communities of the past under the guise of eminent domain are being used to house asylum seekers in the heart of our community without our advisement.
What makes me so mad about this, sorry to keep stopping the video, but what makes me so mad about this is in the stuff that he's saying right now, you guys voted for it. And you keep voting for it every single time. And you keep getting duped. And you're like, man, I wish we wouldn't have got duped. Let's go with this other guy that's saying the same things that we wanted.
Our permission nor our agreement. I come as a representative of this community to rebuke efforts by the Texas governor and everyone between here and there who think we will overlook this nationwide effort to use immigration as a tool to destroy our neighborhoods and water down our ability to make political difference under the guise of philanthropy and grace.
Yeah, the funny thing is that most of the I think they call them, what was it, elders, and their mayor, the last two mayors, and city council and all that, mainly all black people. So,
did anyone consider the quiet enjoyment and safety rights that are expected of the citizens of any community like ours? Or were those considerations?
no, they didn't have to ask you because you voted for it. They told you what they wanted. You said, yeah, that's cool until it came. Now you're not cool with it.
Purposely left out because of our blackness.
So stupid. Your mayor is black. He's the one that chose to take in the migrants and claim you as a sanctuary city. Where did you think they were going to go? You think they were all going to just go, yeah, we could be a sanctuary city and they can all just go sleep under a bridge somewhere or something like that? Come on, man. And you could tell this dude does not live with the rest of these people. He don't live there.
The very first question I had here now, and I had last week, is why not Pilsen, Belmont Cragen, Logan Square, Little Village, South Chicago, South Deering, or Hedwig? Communities that have a supportive cultural infrastructure and potentially more resources to support someone new to the country and the surrounding community.
Because the city can't bully them.
So he was naming off all these places that have been pretty much like no-go zones for police and shit. You know, he ain't naming his suburb. He ain't naming that. No, he's naming all the worst parts of Chicago. That's where they wanted these migrants to go. You're gonna take people that have no idea about the culture and everything like that, and you want to throw them in the worst parts of your city. So you're okay with them coming in claiming that you're sanctuary city. What you're not okay with is them living in your neighborhoods. You want them to live in the worst parts of Chicago. So what you're saying is you want more fentanyl, you want more drugs, you want more cartels in Chicago, in the bad parts of Chicago. because you like that money that comes from the drugs being sold and bought and people getting busted. It's just a big money maker for you. So you want those people to go there, but you don't want them in your neighborhoods.
There are many studies that have shown the adverse impact of immigration to Black communities in terms of jobs, earnings, education.
Yeah, white people have been telling you that for a long time, and you guys wanted to hop on the colored people train. I'm sorry, people of color train, same thing. You wanted to hop on that train, but you're saying it negatively impacts you. It's kind of funny.
Healthcare, and political positioning. Many of us have not only read those studies, we continue to live the outcomes and know them to be truthful.
So why do you keep voting Democrat then? Like you said, the racist white people that you guys hate so much have been telling you this for a long time, and you're just calling them racist all the time. No, they've been telling you it's hurting you more than anybody. If wages weren't getting drove down, you guys might be able to save some money, start your own business, and become successful. But we can't have that as a nation. Well, the Black people that run that city don't want that because then they don't have a job. But yeah, everybody's been telling you guys. I've been telling them. I used to think just like this until about 2010, and the arguments just started getting stupid, and the behavior was erratic and stupid, just like this. Just too many contradictions. You said you wanted to be a sanctuary city, but now you're saying you don't want them in your neighborhood. You want to throw them in the worst parts of Chicago. I don't know.
Why would any leader put our Black communities already riddled with crime at further risk by placing unvetted non-taxpayers steps away from our city?
That's what we've been saying this whole time, and you've been calling people racist, right? I haven't been called racist because, I'm half Black, I'm half white. I've been called I'm too white. I'm not Black enough, but I haven't been called racist. But people don't like my opinion, and they think it's because I hung out with too many white people. No, that's not the case at all. It's once you reason your way through all of this, it becomes obvious.
Our seniors, our children, and our homes we've worked so hard on our own to secure. Without the resources of some non-Black communities in the city, without solid safety protocols in place to protect us from the some of them who don't live up to the expectations of kindness.
Wow. Did he just pull a Trump there? Is he calling Mexicans rapists and criminals? Is that, Trump was called racist for that, even though he said the exact same thing, and the words were pretty on par there. Some. Trump said some. A lot. He said a lot of them. Sounds like he's thinking a lot as well. I think it's time for you guys to wake up and start voting for a different side. Republicans aren't perfect at all. I don't like either side. But unfortunately, everyone is caught in this left-right paradigm, and they don't think that they can vote for an independent person that can think for themselves. You either have to be all or nothing, and so this is what you get.
For us to bear the tax burdens of public services like water, utilities, and the likes, knowing we are an already under-resourced community. If you don't know what I mean, let me offer you some additional context. We currently have water and sewer maintenance happening in our local streets now. Certainly gas will be next.
Right. And we ain't working.
Who's splitting that bill? Our local.
No, it's not just Black people, it's the taxpayers, period. And that's what it's what the racist white people have been saying the whole time as well. They're saying they don't want to pay to give these people social programs and stuff like that. They don't want to pay for you either. The racist white people don't want to pay for anybody. You shouldn't want to pay for anybody. Yeah, it's cool to help people out. Give it to charity. Do that. Start a charity and actually be a charitable charity instead of keeping all the money, which a lot of people get caught doing. Be an actual good person.
Local taxes will increase, regardless of what lies they tell us. They will.
Yeah.
Other areas of the city have businesses that pay into their local economies.
Yes, yes.
Drive down any of our major thoroughfares, and you don't see large-scale businesses that provide input to our local economy. As a matter of fact, Walmart decided to leave because they will finally be forced to pay taxes in this next administration.
No, it had nothing to do with that. It's because they've been losing money for years and years, and there's videos of you guys, your guys' kids going in there because you started passing laws to not prosecute people unless they stole over $1,000 or more, and so you just let them walk in there and eat food and stuff like that and walk out and tear the whole store up, and it had been looted several times completely. I mean, there's videos of that. You guys can go check that out. There's one of a woman walking through trying to get some milk and eggs for her kids, and everything is destroyed. That's why they left.
Yeah. The same applies to many other businesses who are okay with being in communities that don't look like ours. It leaves us to fend for ourselves.
Yeah, they do that because they don't get destroyed there.
And not have the privilege of sharing the tax burden with those who have the resources to make our lives a little easier. Politically, having over 500 people in our community would completely wipe out any interest we have. Are you aware that there are immigrant advocates at state houses all over this country who are advocating for non-citizen voting in local elections?
Oh my gosh. This dude's going full white supremacist. He's like, can you believe it? They want people to vote that aren't citizens. Man, the racist white people have been telling you that for, I don't know, good 20 years now. Said this was coming. Said this is what they were trying to do. I mean, when they're openly trying to pass laws that they don't need IDs and stuff, and, people have been allowed to vote 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20 times. Yeah.
What if that happened here? That would
It
change
will.
the mindset of what we as a black community need to thrive here.
Yeah, you're
in
getting
Chicago.
voted out.
That's a concern of ours.
We need that new
This is much bigger than the mayor of Chicago or Chicago.
Latino recreation
This is an effort
spot
to destroy our neighborhoods and silence our
that
voices
you
even
wanted.
further.
With flexible payment options, Culligan water softeners go with
Supremacy is not merely a word. It is foundational in the practice of some of our government.
What the fuck? He's really blaming this on white supremacy. This is what I'm saying. There's no way we're not in hell. How can he even get away with saying this? You voted the mayor in. That's what you wanted.
Activities and actions, and it is important that we come together as a community to get back to educating ourselves and understand what is important to us in our existence. That's everyone. That's not just black people. There are too many distractions in our community now, and some of them we need to overcome. We must overcome. And that is what's keeping us from preserving the greatness that those before us fought for and fought that.
And again, he didn't fight for shit. He don't live there. He's a community. He just looked like a community organizer. He ain't done a hard work
We would continue
day in
down
his
the line.
life.
So I say all this to say
He's not like
as a community, South
Gerald
Shore, we are
over
strong.
here,
We're not going
back
anywhere.
here.
We're not going to
That
lie
dude's a
down and
worker.
allow this to happen. So we will fight. We will fight as long as we need to fight to make sure that this does not happen. And at the same time, we will continue to pray.
All right, that's enough of that crap. Let's move on to something a little weird that happened over these last 2 months that you might have missed. It was just there for a quick hot second. Let's take a look.
I have butterflies, bro. Everyone saw a shooting star. Then these people say there's aliens in their backyard.
Remember that family in Las Vegas that claimed?
Now, the quick question I have about this video, it isn't very long. Why is this? This used to be taboo. We don't report on this shit. It's all fake. You know, we're not listening to that. And now it's constantly being reported. You guys watch out when they're doing stuff like this. There's something usually going on behind the scenes that they're trying to distract people from. My fear is that they're going to use something stupid like this to try to gain a whole lot of control real quickly around the world.
A UFO landed in their backyard and say they saw an alien? Well, if they decide to come back, the police want to have more evidence. They set up cameras in the yard of the family who made the original 911 call. Sources close to the investigation said they do not believe the call was a hoax.
Wow. I just, I don't even know what to say there. We're reporting on that. They didn't find anything, and yet we're still going to report it. That's kind of what, again, backwards. It doesn't make any sense. It's like everything that's good is bad and everything that's bad is good. Bad reporting is good now. We just report on some of them where they had no evidence, nothing of that, just one 911 call. The police went out there. They got the body cam footage. We put it on, the news, and we're talking about this crap all the time with no evidence backing anything up. And that's considered good reporting these days. So what else happened? Well,
tonight with breaking news, the tragic end to that deep sea dive to the wreckage of the Titanic. Late today, the Coast Guard reporting that pieces of the sub have been found in a debris field near the Titanic, and those pieces indicated a catastrophic implosion of its hull.
Now, this is a sad story about kind of what sums it up for a lot of this video. You had in the previous video two ago with black people protesting the migrants going into Chicago and taking over their neighborhoods. What this boils down to is, and I've seen a lot of this lately and I don't quite understand it, it is a unwillingness to accept reality. Even the most obvious conclusions to a situation that you applied a solution to, where it's very obvious that the solution that you applied would become much more of a problem than the problem was originally, or not doing anything at all. But people don't want to accept the reality. You voted for a mayor that said he wanted to be a sanctuary city and was, wasn't just for black people, it was people of color. And now you're mad about it. Like, that's not what was going to happen in the first place. I mean, come on. Absolutely ridiculous. Not willing to accept reality. Here's the same thing here. This guy starts a company, wants to build subs that, every day people can go on and tour the ocean and look at fun things like the sunken ship of the Titanic. Sounds like a cool idea. Not easy to implement at all. I would like to dig into this a little further if you guys want me to, but there's a lot of bad things that happened here. And it mainly was the worst thing that happened was this guy couldn't accept reality, and it got him killed and got other people killed.
And then moments ago, a U.S. Navy official confirming to ABC News that an underwater acoustic system heard what was likely that implosion on Sunday. The world watching from the first reports that contact with the
And basically, the way they were able to hear that is because once a breach has been had on a submarine at those kind of depths, it's the water rushing in at supersonic speeds. And that's what's causing all the noise. It's the displacement of pressurized water, compacted water. You know, the water at that level is being compacted. And it's hard to compact water, but it does get compacted. And then when it's reached a place that isn't compacted, it moves just like, you know, bad fart from one area to another through diffusion. It's kind of like that. But in this case, it's about the pressure differences. And because that sub inside is only 1 atmosphere and the outside, it was about, I think it was a good 8 atmospheres or more, or it was 100 atmospheres down at the level that they were at. That's why they were able to hear that.
Titan had been lost, and all through the desperate race to find it. Today, an underwater rover found 5 pieces of the Titan 1,600 feet from the Titanic. That's about a third of a mile. Now the world is grieving the loss of all 5 people on board. And tonight, an ABC News exclusive. 2 of the world's foremost experts on the Titanic, Robert Ballard and James Cameron, reflect on the dangers of exploration and on the lesson of the Titanic itself.
Now, the crazy thing is, all these people that died paid $150,000 per seat to die, all because of a guy who couldn't accept reality and the warning signs that were in front of him telling him not to do this.
A lot to cover here tonight, and ABC's Gio Benitez leads us off in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And Gio, that news moments ago from a Navy official painting a clearer picture of the timeline of this tragedy.
They go down in a submarine that this guy put together. It was rated for the depth that they were going to dive the first time. However, and that's what the company that made the shell for him had told him. However, this was not the first dive. This guy had, you know, been diving with this a few times, not quite. I don't think he went quite that low, but it doesn't matter. Once you go down to those depths and things get compressed and everything like that, it starts to weaken the structure. He should have never have went down that low after that, because after that first time the rating goes down, and after the next time it goes down even further. So that means it's less and less that you can actually take that sub, less and less of depth that you can actually take that sub each sequential dive. And he overdid it, and people paid, I think most people brought like one person with them, so it was like $300,000 that everyone, you know, they paid to die. And a billionaire and his son was lost. Just crazy. Now the whole company is getting shut down, rightfully so. Most of his people, I think, told him not to do this, that they weren't ready. But he's just one of them guys where, like, you tell somebody, you know, the ship can't handle it. He's like, it can handle it. No, it couldn't. You don't play around when you're diving to depths like that, when you're putting 100 atmospheres of pressure around your vessel. You don't play around, because one pinprick is all it takes. So what else happened? Well, the Biden administration decides, hey, we're going to appeal the First Amendment. Check this out.
The Department of Justice is appealing a judge's ruling that restricts Biden administration officials from talking to social media companies about the content on their platforms.
So it's not just social media companies either. Social media and news agencies wanting to talk to them about not reporting certain things, which they're allowed to do if it's a matter of national security. When you're trying to hide a scandal, you're not allowed to do that. That's a breach of the First Amendment. And that's what he's appealing, because the judge told him that, yeah, you could tell him not to allow, you know, someone to post how to make a nuclear bomb on their website, you know, you could tell them not that they can't post that. It's a matter of national security, but you can't tell them that they can't say, I don't know, something about a laptop. I don't know, something, you know, just throwing hypotheticals out there.
Injunction stems from a lawsuit brought by the Republican attorneys general in Missouri and Louisiana, and individuals who claim their posts were taken down. They accuse the administration of abusing its power by contacting social media companies about content related to COVID-19 and elections.
Yeah, see that they were suppressing people on the platform. You know, people saying, hey, you know, maybe we shouldn't rush into these vaccines because they're not tested and we don't know what the long-term health effects would be. And well, now insurance companies don't want to give, you know, won't give you life insurance money if you die from, you know, suicide, which is understandable. You can't kill yourself to make your family happier. But also, what is it? I can hardly ever say this word. Mitochondrial infarctions, which is oddly enough maybe linked to these vaccines. So hopefully I don't get pulled from the channel for saying that. But yeah, insurance companies aren't covering that now. And it kind of sucks because people just naturally can have that happen. And now they won't be covered under life insurance because of this blunder, I'll say, that the government forced onto everybody and all the leftists that told you were a naughty, naughty boy if you didn't do it. You guys were a bunch of idiots.
Response to the initial ruling, the White House said, quote, this administration has promoted responsible actions to protect public health, safety, and security when...
Hey, nobody's mad at anybody for promoting any of that, but that is an odd choice of language because that's not what you did. You told people they couldn't say anything counter to what you wanted them to say.
Confronted by challenges like a deadly pandemic and foreign attacks on our election. Let's bring in Jamil Jaffer. He is the founder and...
You know, with this whole pandemic thing, the one thing I find, I don't know, let me know down in the comments if you've came to a similar thought process on this. Kind of funny how when all this bad news started coming out about these vaccines, that all of a sudden the pandemic was over, even though numbers were still on the rise. You know, they weren't as bad as they were in the beginning. They were still, you know, going through its troughs and peaks as far as people getting in and not getting in. I mean, people are still getting it to this day. But all of a sudden it was over when it came out that these vaccines really didn't do anybody any good and they were no good against any of the variants. And you could have 50 of them and still give and get the bid. So I find it odd that the pandemic ended.
The executive director at the National Security Institute. He also served as counsel to the Assistant Attorney General for National Security at the Justice Department. Jamil, can you help us understand first just what, in practical terms, what exactly the administration can no longer do because of this ruling?
Well, at least for now, what the judges prohibited the administration from doing, and certain officials and certain parts of the administration from doing, is engaging with social media companies, encouraging them to take down posts, to examine certain users, to go after what they believe, the administration believes, or would refer to as misinformation or disinformation online.
You know damn well it wasn't one of those conversations where like, oh, we'd really like it if you would help us out and do this. It wasn't like that. It was like, either do that or we're going to pass a bill saying that you guys can be considered media, news media, which would then make them responsible for any comments and things like that that people post on their site, and they don't want no part of that. Even though they're in influencing elections by putting out whatever media that they want to put out or promote. Just like a news agency would. They're allowing people to see certain posts and things like that, allow certain ones to get traction, certain videos. But they don't want to be labeled as that, because then they would be getting, smacked down for some of the really bad stuff that some of these left and right people are saying. So they don't want no part of that. So you know that they were threatened with that, and they're, oh, okay, well, I guess we'll have to take that down.
At least when that information may be protected by the First Amendment.
And do social media companies have their own incentives to combat misinformation? I mean, it seems like there are two ways to stop it. One is to keep the post from taking place at all. And the other is to have community ratings, have community comments, and other things that put a post that might be thoroughly wrong in context with, verified scientific information. Which of those is better, and do social media companies have an interest in either one of those two?
Well, as a general matter, social media companies do have an incentive to engage in content moderation and to protect their platforms from misinformation and disinformation, because they want people to keep coming back. And the more their content is infected with misinformation, disinformation, the less likely people are to come back. Now, as far as
Now, what happens when the government puts out misinformation and they're allowed to post that, but not you saying that there might be something wrong here? Who watches the watchers? It's an age-old question. Let's move on to the next video. Now, thought America was bad. These dudes over in Europe are going ham. Let's see why.
Thousands of demonstrators hitting the streets across France today in a last-ditch effort to reverse the raising of the nation's retirement age from 62 to 64.
What?
Today is actually...
What does that say? No, what does that say? Massive protest against raising of France's retirement from 62 to 64? And we're 900,000 people protested? Yes, damn. They don't play. Not 1 inch given.
The 14th day of nationwide protests, unions and labor groups leading those demonstrations. And earlier today, dozens of those protesters briefly storming the headquarters for the 2024 Paris Summer Olympics. All of this happening after French President Emmanuel Macron signed that controversial pension reform plan into law in April.
Wow. So they burning the city for raising the age from 62 to 64. Well, when you have a lot of social programs and the population is aging, because this is, it's going to be a bad time for the economy, guys. It's not looking good for the future. For one, you got all the baby boomers retiring now. And that goes for France. That goes for every single country that participated in World War II. Every country. You had a mass amount of population growth, and all of those babies are retiring now. Well, since after all those babies were born, people started having only 1 or 2 kids. There's not enough people to take care of them, for these programs, because the money's not there. You put your money into Social Security every single check. Gosh, it's got outrageous. It's as much as federal tax per year now. So you put that in every check, but that money ain't there. That's only going to pay for the people getting it right now. So instead of putting it into an account, letting it grow interest and stuff like that, and, saying, here, you retired, we saved it for you, here you go. No, we spent that money at some point, and now we've been just borrowing from everybody's check to pay for the people on retirement now. Well, with more people getting disabilities because of poor quality food, poor quality water, poor quality everything, and the relaxation from, agencies that are supposed to regulate stuff, but they let big businesses, and you guys blame this on Republicans, but no, it's these Democratic ran type agencies like the EPA and the FDA and stuff like that. They're the ones letting all this stuff slide through. And so, people are getting unhealthier. They have to go on disability before they retire. A lot of people are. And you have autism and stuff like that people get disability for. So, yeah, all that money's gone. And it's getting worse and worse. And so, yeah, you got to raise the age a little bit. Somebody's got to work a couple of extra years, but they're just burning the city.
News Marcus Moore is on the ground there in Paris. Joins me with more. So, Marcus, more than 900,000.
That's how many times you guys gonna burn Paris, like burn France? In the French Revolution, you killed all your rich people and stuff, and then World War II, you just pretty much got ran through. Man,
People protesting across France. What's the latest, and has it remained calm?
Well, Akira, it has been another busy day here in Paris. If you're familiar with Paris, we're in the Place d'Italie, which is in the northern part of the city. And I want to show you what we've been seeing here this afternoon. This demonstration started around 2:30 local time, about 6 hours ago. And the police have been working to clear the crowds that have gathered here at the end of the demonstration march. And so that's what we're seeing behind us right now. We've seen a few skirmishes, if you will. But overall, things have remained peaceful here. They did use the pepper spray earlier to try to move the crowd along. And I want to take you over here, Kira.
Yeah, see, this protest wasn't
forgive the sunlight here, but
so
you can see
bad,
just the enormous amount of police presence that's here as they try to control the crowd that has gathered here. As you said,
to
we're
another.
talking about hundreds of
Very
thousands
quickly,
of
I'll
people
show you guys
who
that
were
one
called
too.
to action today across France, all of them angry about the pension reform plan.
Look
that
at
the
these
president
idiots
signed
too.
into law.
These aren't even
As you
people
mentioned, back
about to
in April,
retire.
there has
These are
been
like
anger
young
brewing,
people.
about that for several months now, and it is anger that has
Most
not
of these people
passed.
have
And we
40
had a
years
moment to
before
speak
they have
to
to
one of the
retire. They're
demonstrators,
burning.
a man by the name of
It's fucking
Oliver.
stupid.
But he told us that there's not just one issue that has compelled
Tell me
people
we
to come
ain't
out
in
here.
hell.
Listen to what he said.
People burning shit for shit that's going to happen 40 years from now.
Low employment. You've got people who are afraid and scared of the police. So I don't think this one is going to work. But I think it's sending a signal, and signals are still things that the power can hear and listen to. So for me, it's a matter of hope.
You guys are crazy.
Hope is something that you have to cultivate by action.
So that's one of the demonstrators who we heard from earlier today. That again, during a peaceful time, he was a peaceful protester as well, and he said that he planned to stay peaceful. As you know, Kira, some of these demonstrations though have turned to violence, and even right now we're seeing some aggression. I just saw a bit of a scuffle happening in the distance there. We, of course, are trying to keep our distance back for obvious reasons, but it gives you a sense of just how tense things are right now. You see the massive police presence here, officers with their riot gear and also tear gas. But there's something else that's very palpable, and it is the frustration, it is the anger, but Kira, it's the determination of a number of the protesters who say that while today is coming to a close, they do not plan to stop their protests until this law, this pension reform plan is reversed, and also those other issues are addressed here throughout the country. Kira.
See, I think all of these videos can pretty much be summed up. People not wanting to accept reality at all. You get all these social programs going, that includes Social Security and disability, all those programs. So it's got to be paid for. And sometimes you got to move up that age a couple extra years because, when your populace is going from living on average to 66 years, and then it jumps to 76 years, 78, and a lot of people are living in the 80s, 90s, up to 100. That's 40 more years after they retire that they're going to be on disability for. That's pretty much their entire work for the entire time they were in the workforce. And they're definitely going to be pulling more money out than they ever put in. unfortunately, my generation will never see it. That's been talked about for a long time. We'll never see retirement, Social Security, even though I'm paying for all y'all old farts right now, and I'm paying dearly for it. I ain't gonna see it. But yeah, they're burning it because they raised the age 2 years. Gosh, I think it's higher here in America anyway. Real quick. Real quick. So not only they had that a month ago, now, yeah, okay. So I found a pretty good video. Sorry guys, I was cutting in and out, but I was trying to find a good video that that's what I'm supposed to do. Look at these crazy photos. Cops are sitting there strolling around with throwing fireworks at them. It was all over a demonstration is over, something that's pretty common these days. Killing of some boy. It was a delivery because the cops now over there. Real quick, I'll pause this. The cops over there now, pretty much restricted freedom of movement over there. They can ask you for your license ID and papers at any single time. There's a lot of migrants that have came there, and because of the terrorist attacks they had, they just went crazy and locked it down. And so now they can ask you, they profile this kid. He was a foreigner, and they wanted to see his papers. And there's a lot of people that snuck into France as well during that time. And he might not have had his, ID and stuff, or he just got scared. But he was shot. Yeah, something that you see here in America. France does it big. Not only did they have a protest for racing the age 2 years, that's so trivial. I can't believe they were protesting that hardcore over that. But then, this makes a little more sense. I don't quite know the details of that kid's life. I could dig into it if you guys want me to. Let me know down in the comments. Like I said, any one of these videos or topics that you want me to get into and do a video on, just go ahead and let me know. The one that gets the most comments on, I'll go ahead and dig into it. I'm not quite sure, whether this kid was a criminal or not. From what I've seen, it did look like he was resisting trying to give that cop his ID because he was in the car. The cop stopped him, pulled a gun on him, stopped him, and the kid ran and the cop shot him. Or the kid drove off and the cop shot him dead. And that's what this demonstration is around, just after that other demonstration. So France ain't doing too good. And you gotta imagine as well, with all these people protesting for their local economy and stuff like that, just gotta be down. People aren't doing what they're supposed to. They're not at work. They're out here doing this protesting, doing stuff like that. So very interesting. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap the video up. It's already been way too long, but you guys know how I do it. I try to make a 10-minute video and just goes on and on and on because there's way too much to talk about. And I feel like you guys are kind of hearing my inner thoughts and, how I would discuss this with, a friend, or somebody that I was having a debate with. And, I think it just, like, all these videos pretty much just boil down to people not accepting reality. When you have massive amounts of migration, that happened in France years ago, there's going to be a culture clash, and there's going to be a displacement of your current people that are there. There's going to be resources taken away. So when you vote for these things and you're thinking, oh, it isn't going to matter too much because we'll put them on the south side of Chicago. Yeah, that ain't quite how it works. For one, that would be kind of inhumane. And if you're really thinking stuff like that, that you got to check yourself. It's like saying, yeah, we'll let all these people in, but we'll put them, in these areas that are fenced off so no one can hurt them or um, you know, do anything to them, and we'll let them kind of get acclimated. We'll teach them things, stuff like that. We'll make sure that, they're not criminals. We'll be able to vet them. We'll just put them in these areas. It kind of sounds like concentration camps is where you want them. They don't work that way. Not since World War II. We're not having that. So you got to be prepared for these people to come into your communities if you're going to vote to be a sanctuary city. And you did vote for that crap because you voted for your mayor. And your other mayor before that wasn't much better, but she was, from what I hear, she's not as crazy as this guy is in Chicago. In France, not wanting to accept that, baby boomers are retiring. There's not enough people aren't having enough kids anymore to support that generation, and that generation right now is retiring. It's going to be a rough 10 years, I think, with the economies because of all these people retiring. Not only that, you don't have nearly as competent people replacing them. I mean, you guys can see this all at your job. You have a few guys that are hustling and doing their job, but they've been beat down so much because they complain to their boss that, hey, I'm doing all these things, but these guys are just standing here doing nothing. But because they're all buddy and everything, they get away with it. And now that guy's beaten down so much, he's never going to even try for the position that these guys are leaving. In fact, the other guys get put in there and then they just run these companies into the ground. You're going to see a lot of that happening. I see it at my company. I see it at a lot of companies where you get these idiots that have never done the jobs before trying to come in and run the place like they know what they're doing. So yeah, you got that problem going on. The guy with the submarine not accepting science, telling him not to put these people in danger like he did, and giving himself the go ahead, even though people had safety concerns. What's it going to take for people to accept reality, accept the facts that are in front of them, actually think through the solutions they're trying to put forth? Because, honestly, it's so bad right now. I don't think there's a solution to anything. I think no matter what you do, it's too far gone. It's just a matter of time. I think what we need to have these conversations for is that if for some reason society does collapse, we don't try this crap again. We don't try and make it work. We actually use solutions that have worked or will work. We actually think it all the way through before we actually implement it. Again, what's it going to take for everybody to wake up and start doing things like that? I don't know if it ever will. At this point, just these last 2 months have just opened my eyes up to how bad things are. I knew they were bad before. That's kind of why I started this channel. Start talking about this. I wanted to start it slow, but it's going at extreme high velocity right now, and I don't know if there's any saving it, but if there is, it's gonna take